I'm Jeff Bond, and welcome back to the Steward Chair, where we bring business leaders insights that go beyond the balance sheet to help you build a more resilient and impactful organization that lasts. Today, I'm speaking with Miren Oca, founder and CEO of Ocaquatics Swim School and her nonprofit Ripples of Impact. We're unpacking the critical importance today of using employee ownership to build a company culture that fosters purpose, meaning, and long-term sustainability. This conversation is for every leader who knows that true competitive advantage isn't just about what you do, but how you do it. And today we'll show you how to create a culture of ownership, whether you're 100% employee owned or not, to build a lasting legacy. And before we get started, if you haven't already, please follow this podcast wherever you're listening for future content and consider sharing it with a fellow leader. Okay, let's dive in. All right, Miren, thank you so much for being on the Steward Chair today. I am so deeply excited about this.
It's my pleasure. I've been really looking forward to this.
Well, I will tell you what, there are very few people in the world who I view as just exemplars of business stewardship. And so I'm really excited for people to hear your story today and everything that you've done at Ocaquatics to build it to what it is today, which is an incredible force for good in the world. And just like I know, we view stewardship as a long-term responsibility. Frankly, it's eternal, right? We're leaving this world in a better place than where we found it. And through our influence, through our business, whatever's been entrusted to us, people, mission, a company, a community, it's not there for personal gain, but for the flourishing of others and future generations. So I want to start by taking a look back. You've been in business now for over 30 years. You built Ocaquatics from a backyard startup into a B Corp, 100% employee owned swim school. I'd love for you to just take me back to your upbringing in Lake Charles, Louisiana, from an immigrant family operating restaurants, and just tell me, kind of what got you on this path early on.
Wow. Well, you've done some research. So I did grow up in Louisiana. My parents were immigrants. And when they came to this country, they worked really, really hard in the restaurant business. And it was really great getting a front row seat into what a family business was all about. And it really helped me to see that I did not want to go into business. So I decided I really wanted to go to college. I was the first person in my family to go to college. And I wanted to get my degree in biochemistry, and I wanted to go to med school and become an orthopedic surgeon. And I worked really hard. I got a scholarship. I did go to college. I was working really hard, and it was going really well until I found out at the age of 19 I was pregnant. And that kind of put a hold on all those plans to go to med school. I did end up getting my degree, but I moved to Miami because my mother from Cuba was living in Miami and I wanted to be closer to her. And I decided, when I graduated, instead of going to med school right away, I would just open this little teeny tiny business, teach some swimming lessons. It's what I knew how to do. It's what I knew how I could earn some money to get by. And, I never, ever thought in a million years I would be still doing this little business, but it has grown and grown and grown. And, that day when I found out I was pregnant, I was not the most grateful person. And now I realize it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I have this amazing son named Ian, and that put me on the path to something that is just far more fulfilling and satisfying than I ever could have done. So it's so funny how life works out.
Well, not only would your vocational track have maybe like shifted,
Mhm.
during that time, but your perspective certainly will have. Imagine that didn't happen when you were 19.
Mhm.
What perspective do you think has been, shaped as a result of that over time and in your leadership and as your view over stewardship in general?
Mhm. Well, I think at 19, I was pretty scared. I was pretty ashamed of what had happened. So it was hard to see the positive in it at that point. But, as I had my son and as I started my little business, I realized I really liked it because I loved working with people. I loved working with children and families. But what I really loved was hiring people. And I hired my first team member and they came to work with me and they were a high school student. And I remember training them and working with them and then thinking, this is pretty fun. I really like this. And then hiring somebody else. And then just as the business grew, I hired more and more people and to grow the business. And you can't grow people to where you haven't gone before. So I was spending a lot of time in my own personal development, my own leadership development, because I didn't know how to lead people. So I was working a lot on that, and it really gave me um, it helped me grow personally, but it also gave me a lot of excitement about what I could help others learn and how I could help them grow. And that's what it's been all about, over the 31 years is growing people and helping them become the people they're going to become because we have such young team members. And it's been really fun. I mean, that has just been the most rewarding part of my journey.
So I was looking back. So in February 1994, you're teaching swimming lessons in people's backyards. You're bartering with hotels for access to their pools. Uh, you have this inherent passion for teaching swimming, but you kind of alluded before that you were an accidental entrepreneur. And I love that because I feel like I'm the same in so many ways. But you've evolved so much and you've grown this. So tell our listeners right now, like, where are you today? What's the scale of Ocaquatics?
Well, today it's 31 years plus later. We are certified B Corporation. We're members of 1% for the Planet, which means that we donate 1% of our gross annual revenues to environmental causes that are vetted by 1% for the planet. We are conscious capitalism members. We are this amazing culture and team of 165 team members. We teach about 6,500 swimming lessons per week in high season in 5 different locations. And we're 100% employee owned. Last year, on our 30-year anniversary, we transitioned to an employee ownership trust. And so it's been quite the journey. And it's amazing. I mean, it's been a hard ride sometimes. It's been an amazing journey sometimes, but it's because of the people. The people have helped make the magic happen. So that's why I really wanted to make sure that they were the ones who were sitting in this ownership seat now.
So, Miren, that is not nothing. You have grown quite something, frankly, for being an accidental entrepreneur, which
Uh-huh.
is in tough seasons, especially this year for a lot of entrepreneurs, business leaders. That's so encouraging. When you reflect on that and just think about how far you've come and how you've overcome these hurdles, what does that mean to you as you think back to your parents as restaurateurs, entrepreneurs, immigrants? Like, what does that even mean to you?
It's really, I've been spending a lot of time in reflection right now, especially because we hit our 30-year anniversary. I transitioned the company. I started a nonprofit, which we can talk about in a little bit, but it's just, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about what's next. And for me to think about what's next, I get to think about where we've come from and what all that's happened. And it really has been, I'm so grateful for the journey. I am so grateful for the hardships. I'm so grateful for the lessons learned. Um, Gary Ridge from WD-40, he's the former CEO. He has a really great expression called learning moments. And he, when he talked to our team during COVID, we were really struggling, and he actually spoke to our team and taught us about learning moments, and that was such a great reframe of all the mistakes that I've made in the past because I've made a ton. I didn't know what I was doing as I was growing this business, but it has really helped me to give grace to all of the team members that we work with and all the young people that we work with because they make mistakes too. But I know that, we can help them grow past those and learn and just really help them grow as people. So it has been, I think for me, the best part of this business has been the people that we've met, the people that we've gotten to teach, the children we've gotten to teach, the children we've taught that are now coming back to us as swimming teachers who are now on their journey to be employee owners. So it's just been this really great perpetuating circle of people.
I love that. And, our listeners are entrepreneurs, business leaders, and emerging leaders of tomorrow that are curious, intellectually curious about stewardship and examples of that. I have no doubt some of your team members will hear this too. And it's incredibly encouraging for you to share that in such an authentic way. Now, you mentioned that you went through B Corp certification. You have this employee owner trust model. You're 100% employee owned. 1% for the planet. These are all massive commitments to purpose. So tell me when and why and how and all the good stuff about what motivated these choices and how did they change your business and business mindset as a leader?
It's a really great question because I didn't start the business with with everything planned out. I started the business for survival. That is why I started the business. And as it grew and as I was hiring people and as I was learning, I was sitting in bookstores reading books. And now, I do have a lot of books behind me. We do read a lot as a team. But as I was learning, I thought, I have to start to be more intentional. I've got to write things down. I've got to put down our mission and our core values so that I can really tell the story to our team members. And it was when Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness, came out that I really got very, very intentional about documenting everything. And so I think we always had a purpose before, but it was evolving. And that's when we really put it down on paper in 2009. 2009 also happened to be the year that I opened my first indoor purpose built warm water facility. Um, and I think it was, if I was going to continue to grow the business, I needed to really put things down on paper and have things well documented so that I could teach this to team members that were coming in because we were hiring rapidly and hiring a lot of people. And we don't hire people who are certified swimming teachers. We hire people who are really great people. And then we show them our values and show them our mission and our purpose. And if they're aligned, that's when we will teach them to swim. We will teach them to teach. We will teach them whatever we have to teach them. I'm a very good swimming teacher, but I'm not really great at teaching people about, core values and all, to be aligned with ours. They have to come to us with those in their heart. They have to have that caring spirit for people. And if they do, we can teach them anything we need to for the business.
There's so much I want to zoom in on there for the person listening right now. But the one thing that's really interesting to me that we've been talking a lot about on this show, we just had Frank Patterson from Trilla Studios on the show, and he built a purpose, or him and Trillith and Dan Cathy of Chick-fil-A, they built a purpose built site in Atlanta, which is the second largest like movie studio in the world at this point, I think. So, but you mentioned that your first facility was purpose built. When did you first hear that phrase? And did you know at the time that it was purpose built? What did that mean to you?
Well, it's interesting because I guess maybe I meant it in a little bit of a different way. It was purpose built, but now I'm just putting that together. So it's really cool. Purpose built, yes, around our purpose that we believe, our purpose is to make a positive difference on the lives of our team members, our families, our community, and the planet. But purpose also meant I went into a warehouse district. I rented a facility and I built a pool in the inside of a building. And we use that building 100% for the purpose of teaching swimming lessons and water safety skills. So a lot of people think that because we had grown up in the hotels and country clubs and all these pools, that I was sharing space with other organizations. But no, that was the first purpose built. So it has a double meaning. So I really like that you pointed
Totally.
that out, Jeff. That's perfect.
Yeah, and language is so important
Yes.
because that wasn't really like our
Yeah.
view of purpose today, and purpose-built companies was
Hmm.
quite different in that era, and it has evolved. We have realized the significance of purpose strategy today, which has that double meaning. And so I was wondering, what that meant to you then and what it means to you today. So thank you for jumping into that.
Yeah. On purpose, with purpose, there are a bunch of different things there. So I really like that you
That's
brought
right.
that up.
Yeah. So I want to also go back to, I think what I know is deeply important to you is creating connection.
Hmm.
And that's so important to me. I know we're in a loneliness epidemic. We're more disconnected today than ever. You have a platform of bringing your employees and your community together. Particularly, I want to zoom in on COVID because that was a major test and we were all socially distant when, frankly, I felt we were physically distant. We should have been more intentional about social connection. Pick up the phone, talk to somebody, support one another. What were some of the things you did now? What are the things that you continue to think about as a leader in terms of fostering environments for connection for people to feel uh, like that sense of purpose and connectedness to one another?
Hmm. Well, because we work with so many people, because we work with young people who we might be their first job and they don't know yet the world of work. And we want to help them see what it's like. We want to help them grow skills, life skills, that are going to be with them for the rest of their lives. So we really do believe a lot in pouring into our team. And that means having a good connection with their managers, but also we have a pretty strong mentorship program. And our mentorship program is every team member has a mentor, and all of our leaders have mentees. And you get them once you've been with us for 30 days. And it's not a person to help you learn how to teach a better backstroke or how to answer a phone call better. It's a person that's there to help you with life skills, with, hey, why don't you look at joining? Oh, you're struggling with finances? Why don't you join our financial literacy program? Oh, you have finals next week? How are you doing? Are you studying? Those kinds of things. They are life skills. Um, and we've had this program for a long time, but I think that COVID was a perfect example of why we needed things like that, because COVID was a tough time for us. um, we were closed for 3 months. We couldn't even go into our locations, into our facilities, and we were able to secure PPP, which was the funding that was there for businesses to continue to employ their team members, but we couldn't be in person together. So we did a lot of virtual trainings. We did a lot of online meetings every single day. We did online personal financial literacy. We did online yoga classes and online meditation, and we did drive-bys of, to visit them, and during to put things in their front yard, like little surprises and things like that. But one of the things during COVID is, and I have it right here, I'm going to grab it. Um, Someone told me at the beginning, early days, when everything, it was so uncertain, we didn't know what was going on. And they said, make a list of 5 words that you want to be known for at the end of this journey, at the end of COVID. And so I did. And these are the 5 words I came up with during COVID. And it's still hanging above my desk. And it's calm, compassionate, stable, positive, and a leader. And I put these words above my computer. And that way, every day when I woke up and I was not feeling great during COVID because it was a tough time, I looked at those 5 words and said, act in the way that people will talk about you with these 5 words throughout this journey. And I think we all need reminders because it's hard to be a leader sometimes. So if we can, do these little tricks to help us remember what we're here for, it really does make it a lot easier.
I think that's incredible. I love that you held it up too. I can't wait to take a virtual snapshot of that, and that can be a
Yeah.
part of this show's downstream content because it's such a beautiful uh, idea at that time. Because I think we were all lost, and I don't think we have quite even acknowledged the impact that it continues to have on our thinking as leaders and how compassion, empathy, vulnerability, showing up for people, being more patient, all of that has created in us. And quite frankly, that's a gift. And I think we all kind of suffer through that in our own ways. But that, like you said, you talked before about being thankful for all the struggles and all the things you've been through throughout your career. It's so formative. And I know that nothing replaces that physical proximity, but I felt, because I've been doing podcasting now for 5 years, focused on leadership, I felt more socially connected than ever. That's why I think the proper phrasing would have been physical distancing. But by all means, look at all the things you did to foster community and connection. We all have the ability to do that regularly. And thankfully, now we can do a lot of that in person again.
Right. Right.
And I think it's the time that we really need to foster those in person experiences. Even if we have a fully distributed team, we need to be thinking intentionally as leaders about the employee or the associate experience and what it means to feel connected and as a part of a community. So, how does that look today for you now that you're back kind of fully in person?
Right. So we have a lot. If you came to our locations, I mean, there's just a vibe in the buildings. There's an energy. And our team members are just the most wonderful, amazing, positive people. And you feel it. You feel it in the air. The parents walk in the door and just ask, like, what's going on here? How do you find people? Or how do you make people so happy? And I
Is this the
tell them,
same kid that I'm raising right now that's plugged in? And yeah,
but it's just so funny because we find people who are really great people and then we pour into them and we help them and we support them. And it's not always perfect. Our goal is to always really be able to do these things, but we're working with people and people are complicated and complex. Um, but we really do try super hard. Our mentorship program is one of those things. We have a very routine meeting rhythm. We have daily huddles. And these are all things that they're touch points. We can connect with people. We can we're going over business things, but we're also talking about, if somebody were to play you in a movie, who would it be? We've got some fun little questions in there too, because we do have a young team. Um, we have a program called Oca Fit where we work out together. And they earn points for the locations that work out. Um, we have an Oca fund, an Ocaquatics fund, but it's capital FUN because we want to make it really fun. And they earn points for doing certain things, and it goes into a pool of money. And then they get to spend this money at their location on whatever they like. And sometimes it's going to a theme park and hanging out together. So we love that our team love to work together, but even better, they love to hang out together. And that's what's really cool. So we provide a lot of those opportunities for them to hang out inside and outside of work. And I think that that's what builds, it builds that strong culture. It builds that strong relationship and that connection. But backing up to the very beginning of it, we're starting off with really great people too, because we're super selective. We're highly intentional about who we allow onto our team. And again, we're looking for people who are positive, hard workers, great character. They don't have to know how to swim. I don't care if they know how to swim.
I was going to ask you about that because you told
Yeah,
me that last time, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, you hire people that may not know how to swim.
yes,
So I'm glad you went there. Let's hear
yeah.
more about that.
Well, I can teach them to swim. That is easy for me, but we just want the right kind of people, really positive, really excited, just really people who, we all know those people, we can picture them in our minds. They're just, when they walk into a building, they light it. When they walk into a room, they light it up. That's what we want. And then we can get them in the pool. We can help them learn how to swim. We can then help them get trained to teach, and we can get them certified. And those are the ones that stay with us the longest because they've learned how to swim. They understand how it feels to be in that learning environment and what it feels like to not know how to swim and to actually learn it. So we've done that so much, and it's been great. It's been really, really great. So we have that opportunity to do that. And then also, it's just because that's the basic, that's the beginning. We're teaching them to swim, but we are also teaching them leadership development along the way. We have a leadership program that people can join. They don't have a title of supervisor or anything. They're just showing leadership behaviors. We have them come onto the team, and those are the people we really pour into. And we do lunch and learns, and we do meetings, and we do all sorts of. And the meetings sometimes have nothing to do with teaching swimming. It's about purpose. It's about choosing their word for the year. It's about emotional intelligence. These are all things that we're teaching them to help them become better coworkers, but better citizens on the planet.
I love it. And I love us all as leaders, everyone listening, everyone part of this community, thinking about this metaphorically. So, what is our version of hiring people that may not know how to swim?
Right.
For instance, Chick-fil-A always
Mhm.
says it's a leadership development company disguised as a chicken sandwich company.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, I think all of us can think about the way in which we can develop future generations for that. And, it's interesting because we've grown up in a world and you've been running your own company your way for 30 years. But so often I think about program implementation in companies I've worked for, and the question is always, well, how is that generating ROI, and how is that, showing up in the P&L? And so whenever you're like in a business environment talking to other CEOs, like, do you even hear that question anymore? Are you hanging out with those kinds of people? And if you did, what would you say to them?
I am hanging out with those kinds of people too, because I want to show them. So the nonprofit I started last July, a year ago, actually today, um, is called Ripples of Impact. And it's the ROI. It's redefining ROI for business. So we normally think in the business world is return on investment. How does that drive profit? How does that drive, the bottom line? And, you know, are you building just your bottom line, or are you building something different? And I want to encourage people that you can do both. And if you're building, I want to look at, I really am thinking a lot about this lately about we're so focused on KPIs, key performance indicators, and measurement of every single thing in our business. And I really do feel like there needs to be something around impact. How do you measure the impact that you're having? And whether that's on your team members, on the community, on the planet, on just what are the things they're hard to put a number to, they're hard to put a value to, but they really do make a huge difference. And I think if we somehow learn how to figure out how to measure that, it's going to be really great because that drives your regular KPIs and your actual ROI, return on investment. I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a yes and you can have ripples of impact and a great return on investment as well.
I think you should be responsible for assessing all the corporate buzzwords and acronyms and reframing them in this world into something, because perspective is one thing that we can change that drastically shifts everything. And it's not this huge shift, but it's just thinking about it in a different way. I don't know if you've seen the commercials where like the negative words are going down the screen, and if you read it the opposite way, it's actually quite affirming and positive. Like I
Ah,
love seeing things like that because we get so in our way and stuck in our thinking and like performance business teaching and business schools. And I'm really encouraged by leaders that have been doing this for a long time, by our next generation that's kind of awakened to this entrepreneurial spirit and this innovation and social impact. And I know how much you're really embedding those values in your team and how amazing that ripple effect is going to be well beyond your time.
well, I hope so. That's what I want. That's what I want to live. I want it to live on long before, yeah, long after I'm gone. And right now we have 52 co-owners. So on February 29th, 2024, I was the only owner. And on March 1st, 2024, I became a co owner with 50 other owners. And so now, or with 49 other owners. And now we have 50, we're up to 54 actually. This week we had two
54.
new, two new
Wow.
co owners join us. And those team members, they've always acted like owners because we have this ownership, this culture of ownership at Ocaquatics, but now they're leveled up. I mean, they think of the business like any traditional owner who or a founder would, and they're so proud and they work so hard, and it's really exciting to be able to help them learn how to do it in an environmentally and socially responsible way, and how to help others and to bring others up and to not be what traditionally business is thought of in the movies or in TV shows. So it really has just been great to help them understand how we can have a really a good responsible company doing great things.
And I've heard you said that you can't take people to where you haven't gone. And I know that you're always developing and learning, and that's shaping how you lead. So, what are the things you're doing today to ensure that you as a leader are continuing to model that mantra?
Well, I read podcasts, listen to audiobooks all the time. This year, I mentioned earlier that our team chooses a word for the year. Each of our leaders choose a word for the year. And we've done it for probably 15 years. And this year, my 2025 word was evolve because I had transitioned the company, I'd opened the nonprofit, and now what? I'm still the CEO. However, things are shifting, the roles are shifting a little bit. So it's evolve, and it is really thinking about what's next. And I really would like to be a messenger for business for good, for employee ownership as an alternative to, to an exit or to a business model, to building a great culture and taking care of team members, and how that just some people think of it as so expensive, or it's such an, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it when. And really, if you can build this into the DNA of your company and do it from the beginning, it will pay dividends. And I really want to be a great case study and be able to talk about our experience and share that with others so that they can hopefully learn something from what we've done, and figure out what's their version for their business, because I know every business is different, but what are some things that we've done that they can learn from to kind of put into their own business?
Hmm. And I think you're doing so much of that today already, Maren, whether you acknowledge it or not, but linking like every swim lesson to a broader impact, every conference that you show up at, each speaking engagement that you give. Uh, I wish we were the only podcast you're on, but you're like on so many podcasts speaking and carrying your influence far and wide, which I'm so thankful to see because people need to hear your voice. But how like you talk about embedding social and environmental purpose into everyday business. And I think embedding is such an important word. It's not performative. It's not this thing you do as a separate nice to have, but it's really putting it into the flow of the decisions you make. So, what are the ways that you do that? And then maybe what are the ways that maybe a business owner can practically think about embedding those types of things into their day to day operations?
Well, we hear of a lot of businesses that do the work as hard as they can, but maybe not treat their team members as well as they could, but they're still making a heavy profit. And at the end of the year, they're writing a really big check to a charity. And that's great. But we have such an opportunity to do something great with the people that we work with every single day. And we can help them grow and we can help them learn and we can pay living wages and we can do really great things for them. But we can also do things with the work. We're really lucky. Our work is very purpose driven work. We save lives. We teach water safety and life saving skills, through our swimming lessons. So we have that opportunity, but we also do other things like for every swimming lesson that we teach, we donate access to 1 day of water to a community in the Dominican Republic through an organization called Blue Missions. And the reason we do that is because we have so much water here in South Florida. We're wasting water, we're splashing it on the deck. And meanwhile, there are parts of the world where people don't have enough water to drink. And usually the burden falls to women and children to go find water for the community. And then they can't work, they can't go to school, they can't have jobs. And it really has restricted their growth. So we hope that by helping to build wells or gravity fed water systems, we can release them from that burden of having to find water every day. And then they can go to school, they can have jobs. Women are becoming entrepreneurs in these communities. And so that's our way of helping. And it's the one for one for every swimming lesson, it's 1 day of water. But we do that with 10 organizations in our community, with 1% for the planet. And on our team members' birthdays, we donate their age in dollars to the nonprofit of their choice. So when they're turning 20 years old, we donate $20 to the organization they choose. We do that for anniversaries. We do that for every single survey that a parent turns in for us. We do that for every survey that the team members turn in for us. And we do a lot of surveys because we want to learn from them. We want them to tell us how we're doing. So, we just try to embed it into everything that we do. So it's not an afterthought at the end of the year, we have to write a check to something.
Yeah, for tax benefits and if we
Exactly.
had a profit. Yeah.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, and I love that, and we're part of a lot of these same communities like conscious capitalism, B Corp
Yeah,
movement, like you talked about, and we have to remind people that these are pro-capitalism, pro-business movements, and that business inherently free trade, voluntary exchange, like all these things have really positive implications. Do they have their shadows? Absolutely.
absolutely.
But we have this opportunity as business leaders every single day to make small embedded decisions that are going to add up to such a profound impact. And I think it's really important point that we need to like kind of zoom in on is that it doesn't have to be that big sweeping check at the end of the year. This is not about charity. That's good. We're glad that people are charitable, but it's not like that. So when somebody kind of gets kind of caught up on the conscious side of conscious capitalism and forgets that it's a pro business movement, how do you kind of like what's maybe as a parting thought like to our listeners to think about how business can truly be a force for good in the world?
Well, I am very pro capitalism because we have to make a profit so that we can continue to do all these things that we do. And yes, we're not focused on building the bottom line. A lot of the things that we do help us build a healthier bottom line. By doing all the social and environmental responsibility things that we do, our team members are much happier, they stay longer. Our customers are happier, they stay longer, and that pays dividends. It helps us with our bottom line and have a healthier profit. So we are definitely a business. We definitely believe in capitalism and we definitely have to make a profit so that we can continue to do all of this work, especially now as an employee owned company. Our team members get a share in the profit at the end of every year. So we want to have a profit. We want to make sure that they are having this return. However, we want them to understand that it's in the way that we've always done it in a responsible way and by helping the team members and by helping the community and by helping the planet. We would never want them to say, let's cut wages so we have a better profit at the end of the year. We've had to do a lot of education on why we pay living wages so that team members stay longer, so that our customers are happier and we do really well as a company.
I think that's an important point to reflect on and the perfect place for us to close now that we're up on time, Miren. This went by so quickly. Thank you for your gift of time, your wisdom, the leader you are. You're such a leader worth following. And I really have valued the relationship. So thank you for coming on the Steward Chair.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow. Thank you to my friend Miren for joining us today. The insights she shared on using the models around employee ownership to create a people first, values driven culture really are a testament to the power of values driven leadership. And so now here is your steward's call. This is the one key moment that I think you can take away from our conversation and just put into practice today. So consider how you can instill an ownership mindset in your team by opening up financial literacy and business concepts to them. Even without the formal employee ownership model, this can drive engagement and accountability. And remember, building a legacy is not a future event. It's a daily practice. So what you do today will shape the impact you leave behind. And if you found today's conversation valuable, I would so appreciate you taking a moment to follow the Steward Chair wherever you get your podcasts, which is the best way to ensure that you'll never miss an episode. And help us grow this community. Please share this episode with a leader that you respect. A final thank you to our incredible production team, executive producers Quentin Thomas and Thomas Master-Totero, and our managing editor, Daniel Master-Totero. They are the true stewards behind this show, and I'm your host and researcher, Jeff Bond. And with that, now go and be a leader worth following.